Welcome to the Plato Paradigm, a paradigm shift in reading Plato's dialogues. Episode 10, Hippias Minor 366a to D. Many dogmatic Platonists subscribe to what is known as the theory of recollection, anamnesis, or in English pronunciation, anamnesis. Ordinary mortals cannot know anything from the outside because ideas don't exist in this world. But, according to Plato, the ideas are innate in our soul, and all we need to do is look inwards, raise up from the soul ideas, and that's how we get to have ideas. At least that's one version of the theory of recollection. The various versions of the theory of recollection are arrived at by the usual method of picking and choosing between things said, in this case in two dialogues, Meno and Phaedo, deciding what's correct, what is Platonic and what is ironic, and creating the theory. As usual, picking and choosing involves ignoring most of the evidence. Socrates uses the verb to recollect fairly frequently in many dialogues, hardly ever in the context of dragging up ideas out of the soul. In our present example, Socrates has just said, "Let us recollect what it is that you say." This is a perfectly reasonable use of recollection, to recall what has been said already in the dialogue. The problem is that Socrates recollects for Hippias and doesn't make Hippias do the recollection himself. And this leads to Socrates perverting what has already been going on, and Hippias simply agrees with Socrates. This is not really a case of recollection. This happens in many dialogues. It's as if Socrates is trying to get the interlocutor out of his passivity to react and say, "No, that wasn't what was said," or "No, I didn't claim that." Hippias agrees with Socrates because he feels that Socrates is helping his own side, Hippias' side, in the eristic competition that they're having. He sees no reason to dispute what Socrates says. Socrates says to Hippias, "You claim this and that," and Hippias says, "Yes, that's what I claim." The fact is that Hippias didn't claim any of this. He's simply answering questions put to him by Socrates. At best, Socrates should have said that Hippias agrees with the following remarks. Socrates says that Hippias claims that the false are able, prudent, knowledgeable, and expert in the things in which they are false. The only negative term here now is false itself. There's no mention of panurgia, kakurgia, and even the term politropoi, which is surely the point of the whole argument. Having settled on four positive terms to describe the false, Socrates continues his questioning. Alus detus aletheste kai pseudes, kai enantiotatus alelois? Lego tauta. And do you say that the true and the false are different people and the complete opposites of each other? I say this. Of course, the true and the false are extreme opposites. We would expect nothing less in an eristic debate. But if you think about it, true and false do seem to be extreme opposites. Given that this is an eristic debate, we might have expected Socrates now to conclude that the true are unable, imprudent, unknowledgeable, and inexpert in the things in which they are true. So let's see what Socrates does say. Ferede, ton menduneton tines kai sophon, hose oiken esin hoi pseudes kataton son logon. Malistage. Come now. Some of the able and expert, so it seems, are the false, according to your argument. Very much so. Hotan de leges dunatus kai sophus enaitus pseudes es auta tauta, potron leges dunatus enai pseudestai e ambulontai, e adunatus est tauta haper pseudontai. Dunatus egoge. Whenever you say that the false about these particular things are able and expert, are you saying that they are able to be false if ever they wish, or that they are unable about these things about which they are false? Able, for my part. Hosen kephalaio ara erestai, hoi pseudeses in hoi sophoiticae dunatoi pseudestai. Nai. So in a nutshell, the false are the experts and able to be false. It might be clearer if I use false for the adjective pseudes, and for the verb pseudomai, I shall say lie. Although the verb covers any form of falsehood, not just intentional falsehoods. So in a nutshell, the false are in lying those who are expert and able. Hippias agrees, he just says yes, but he really shouldn't have, because until now the expert was an expert in a particular field in which the liar lies. Now he's an expert at lying, not an expert in a field in which he lies. Adunatos ara pseudestai aner kai amethes ukan e pseudes, echehutos. So a man unable and ignorant in lying would not be false. This is so. This is a variation on the conclusion I had predicted, that the true would be unable, imprudent, unknowledgeable, and inexpert. Instead of concluding that the true is unable, Socrates concludes that the man unable to lie wouldn't be false. For some reason, Socrates hasn't got round to talking about the true. Dunatos tegestin hekastos ara, hosan poie tote hoan bouletai, hotan bouletai. I suppose that anyone able is one who does whatever he wants to do whenever he wants to do it. This is clearly not a good definition of ability, but it sounds good in an eristic debate. Surely if you're able to do something, it means you will do something whenever you want to do it. We know that if you're able, say, to swim, it doesn't mean that you can swim at any given moment because there may not be water around. Perhaps to gloss over this objection, Socrates doesn't give Hippias time to object, but carries on with a sort of explanation of what he means. Huponosu lego exergomenon, udeton toiuton, alla hos persudonatos e grapsai tumon onoma hotan boule huto lego, e hosan hutos eche kalesu dunaton? Nai. I don't mean someone prevented by disease or things like that, but just as you are able to write my name whenever you wish, that's what I mean. Or don't you call someone who is like that someone able? Yes. Notice that Hippias has answered only the last question. He is able to write Socrates' name whenever he wishes, and he does call someone like that able. In an eristic debate, he would have looked stupid if he had denied that he called himself able. being able to call himself able is preferable to objecting, for example, that there may be occasions when he cannot write his name because he doesn't have a writing implement or papyrus or a wax tablet. So, in the argument so far, Socrates has avoided talking about the true and has concentrated on the false, and in particular the fact that the false needs to have ability in being false. I say fact, but it isn't really, because false includes people who make mistakes, and people who make mistakes don't do so deliberately, usually. We'll see how Socrates gets around that problem later on. Just now, Socrates basically asked Hippias if he calls himself able when he writes, whenever he wants to, Socrates' name. Hippias obliges. He's quite happy to say that he does call himself able. And now Socrates pushes the point. He's now going to talk about the abilities of Hippias. Legedemoi o Hippia, usu mentoi emperos logismon kai logistikes, panton malista, O Socrates. Tell me, Hippias, aren't you experienced in calculations and arithmetic? Above everything, Socrates, uk un ekaitis se eroito tatris heptakosia hoposos estin arithmos bouloio, panton tachista kai malistan epois talethe peritutu. Panuge. So if someone asks you how much 3 times 700 is, if you wanted, you above everyone and faster than everyone would be able to say the truth about this. Absolutely. Ara hoti dunatotatos te kai sophotatos katatauta nai. Because you are most able and most expert about these things? Yes. Potron un sophotatos te kai dunatotatos monon kai aristos tauta haper dunatotatos te kai sophotatos ta logistika. Kai aristos depu, O Socrates. So, are you only most wise and most able, or also best in those things about which you are most able and most expert? In other words, arithmetic. Also the best, of course, Socrates. What is Socrates doing here? This is an eristic debate, and he's allowed Hippias to appear most able, most expert, and best. Wait a minute, don't those terms sound familiar? Let's go back to the exhibition next time.